I'm 78 years old, and I've kept 42 VHS tapes hidden for 39 years. Security footage from a rural Vermont psychiatric hospital where I worked as maintenance supervisor. Footage that shows a Bigfoot visiting my comatose 6-year-old son every night for 8 months. My name is Michael Reeves. In late 1984, my son Thomas was hit by a car while riding his bike. Traumatic brain injury. Fell into a persistent vegetative state. The doctors were clear. He would never wake up. Never communicate. Never be Thomas again. I was a single father. His mother had died when he was 2. Thomas was everything I had, and in one afternoon he was gone. Body still breathing, but mind unreachable. I took a night maintenance job at the hospital just to be near him. Spent every evening sitting beside his bed talking to him, holding his hand even though the doctors said he couldn't hear me, couldn't feel me, was essentially already gone. In the spring of 1985, part of my duties included reviewing security footage for the hospital, making sure equipment was working, checking for maintenance issues, documenting any problems. That's when I found it. A massive figure entering Thomas's room at 2:30 a.m. Every single night, sitting beside my son's bed, placing its hand on his chest, staying for hours. A Bigfoot. Had to be. Nothing else that size, that shape, moving with that kind of deliberate gentleness. My first instinct was panic, report the intruder, protect my son. But as I reviewed weeks of footage, I saw something that changed everything. The creature was helping him. Every night it visited, Thomas's vital signs improved. His distress decreased. His brain activity increased. And slowly, impossibly, my son began to wake up. By October 1985, Thomas was fully conscious, talking, remembering, recovering in ways the doctors called miraculous, but couldn't explain. The Bigfoot visited one final time after Thomas woke, as if checking its work was complete, then never returned. These 42 tapes documenting every visit, proof that a creature healed my son when medicine had given up, evidence that would revolutionize our understanding of consciousness, healing, and what's possible. But releasing those tapes would mean Thomas becoming a spectacle, a case study, the boy the Bigfoot healed, his privacy destroyed, his recovery turned into publicity, the creature hunted and studied and exploited. So I kept them hidden, protected my son's right to heal quietly, protected the creature that gave him back to me. This is the story of how a Bigfoot saved my son's life, and why I chose silence over proof for 39 years. Before we begin, comment below and let me know where you're watching this from today. I want to know how far this story travels. How many people understand that some truths are too important to prove? The accident happened on a Saturday afternoon in November 1984. Thomas was 6 years old, riding his bike in front of our house in rural Vermont. I was inside making dinner, heard the screech of brakes, the impact, ran outside to find my son lying in the street. The driver was a teenager, just got his license, going too fast on a residential road. Slammed the brakes but couldn't stop in time. Hit Thomas head on. The bike was destroyed. Thomas's skull fractured. I rode in the ambulance with him, holding his small hand, begging him to stay with me. "Don't leave me, buddy. Please don't leave me. You're all I have." The surgery lasted 9 hours. They relieved the pressure on his brain, repaired what they could, but the damage was extensive: traumatic brain injury, multiple bleeds, swelling they couldn't fully control. When the neurosurgeon finally came out, his expression told me everything before he spoke. "We've done everything we can," Dr. Morrison said, "but the damage is severe. Thomas is in a persistent vegetative state. His brain stem is functioning. He's breathing on his own, but the higher brain functions are compromised, significantly compromised." "What does that mean?" I asked, though I already knew. "It means he's not conscious. He can't think, can't feel, can't communicate. His body is alive, but Thomas, the person your son was, he's not there anymore. But he could wake up. People wake up from comas." "This isn't a coma, Mr. Reeves. This is different. The brain damage is permanent. I'm sorry, Thomas will require institutional care for the rest of his life. He'll never wake up." They moved Thomas to a long-term care facility attached to the regional psychiatric hospital 30 miles from our home. A place for patients who needed constant medical monitoring but had no hope of recovery. The warehouse for people whose families couldn't let go but medicine couldn't help. I visited every day after work, sat beside Thomas's bed for hours, talking to him, even though the nurses said he couldn't hear me, couldn't process language, couldn't understand anything. "I'm here, buddy," I'd say, holding his small hand. "Dad's right here. I'm not going anywhere." His eyes were open but empty, staring at nothing, breathing but not living. The machines monitoring his vitals beeped rhythmically, tracking a body that continued functioning despite the person inside being gone. My friends tried to help, brought meals, offered support, Suggested I let him go with dignity, as if there was dignity in abandoning your child to die in a hospital because science said he was already gone. I couldn't do it. Couldn't give up. Thomas was 6 years old. He'd already lost his mother. I was all he had. I couldn't be one more person who left him. By early 1985, 2 months after the accident, I'd burned through my savings. Couldn't work my construction job anymore. Couldn't focus. Couldn't be reliable when I spent every evening at the hospital. Got laid off in January. I was broke, desperate, and watching my son exist in a state worse than death. The doctors kept suggesting I consider withdrawal of care. He's not suffering, they'd say. He doesn't feel anything. Letting him go would be a kindness. But I'd catch moments, a flicker in his eyes, a twitch of his fingers, that made me think something was still there. Some fragment of Thomas trapped inside that unresponsive body, screaming to get out. I needed to be near him. Needed work that would let me spend evenings at the hospital without commuting an hour each way. Needed income that would keep me alive while Thomas existed in this terrible in-between state. The hospital posted a maintenance supervisor position in February. Night shift. Overseeing cleaning crews, handling repairs, monitoring security systems. The pay was terrible, but it was right there, in the same building where Thomas lay unconscious. I took it immediately. Started in March. The job let me work from 6 p.m. to 2 a.m., then spend 2 hours with Thomas before driving home to sleep a few hours and starting over. Part of my duties was reviewing security footage, making sure cameras were functioning, checking for any incidents or problems that needed addressing. Tedious work, watching hours of empty hallways and quiet rooms. I had no idea that tedious work was about to show me something impossible. Something that would explain why I couldn't give up on Thomas. Why some instinct kept telling me he was still in there, still fighting, still worth waiting for. My first month on the job was mind-numbing. Monitor security feeds, document maintenance issues, supervise cleaning crews, handle emergency repairs. The hospital was old, constantly breaking down, always needing attention. Most nights I'd finish my rounds by 10 p.m., then review security footage until midnight, fast-forwarding through hours of empty corridors, checking timestamps, making notes for daytime maintenance staff. Thomas was in room 217 on the long-term care ward. I'd check on him every night around 9 p.m. during my rounds, sit with him for 20 minutes, talk to him, hold his hand, then return to the security office to finish my shift. In early April, 3 months into the job, I was reviewing footage from the previous night. Standard procedure, making sure all cameras had recorded properly, that no incidents had occurred requiring follow-up. I was fast-forwarding through the feed from the long-term care ward when something made me stop. A shadow moving past the camera at an unusual time. I rewound, played it at normal speed. 2:27 a.m. The hallway was empty, as it should be. Night nurses made rounds at midnight, and 4 a.m. No other activity expected. Then, at 2:30 a.m. exactly, something moved through the frame. I paused the footage. The image was grainy. Low-light security cameras in 1985 weren't high quality, but I could make out a figure, large, moving on 2 legs. Too big to be human. My first thought was bear. Sometimes black bears wandered into populated areas, but the proportions were wrong. The movement was wrong. Bears don't walk upright like that, don't move with that kind of deliberate purpose. I watched as the figure approached the door to room 217, Thomas's room. My heart rate spiked. Something, was entering my son's room in the middle of the night. I fast-forwarded, watching the timestamp. The figure stayed in Thomas's room for 1 hour and 47 minutes. Then emerged at 4:17 a.m., moving quickly back down the hallway, disappearing from the camera's view before the 4 a.m. nurse rounds. I immediately pulled up live footage from Thomas's room. He was alone, unchanged, machines still beeping their steady rhythm. No obvious harm done. I went back to the beginning, watched the entrance footage frame by frame. The figure was massive, had to be 7 feet tall minimum, maybe more. Broad shoulders, long arms, covered in what looked like dark hair or fur. Moved bipedally with slightly stooped posture. A Bigfoot. Had to be. Nothing else fit the profile. It approached Thomas's door carefully, checking both directions first, clearly aware of cameras and trying to minimize exposure. The door wasn't locked. This was a care facility, not a secure ward. It opened the door slowly, entered, closed it behind itself. I pulled up the interior camera from Thomas's room. The angle was bad, positioned to monitor the bed and medical equipment, not the entire room, but I could see the edge of the bed. Thomas's small form under the blankets, the monitors. At 2:32 a.m., the figure appeared in frame, moved to the side of Thomas's bed, stood there for several minutes just looking down at my unconscious son. My protective instinct screamed. This thing, this creature, was in my son's room, standing over his helpless body while he lay completely defenseless. But as I watched, the creature did something unexpected. It pulled a chair close to the bed, carefully, quietly, like it was trying not to disturb anything, sat down, and very gently placed one massive hand on Thomas's chest. I should have reported this immediately, should have called security, police, wildlife control, should have done everything to protect my son from this intruder, but something stopped me, some instinct that made me keep watching instead of reacting. The Bigfoot sat beside Thomas's bed with its hand resting gently on his chest. Didn't move, didn't do anything threatening, just sat there in the darkness, maintaining that contact for nearly 2 hours. At 4:15 a.m., 2 minutes before the nurse's scheduled rounds, the creature carefully removed its hand from Thomas's chest, stood, moved to the door, checked the hallway, then left quickly and efficiently. The nurse arrived at 4:17 a.m., checked Thomas's vitals, made notes, left within 5 minutes. She hadn't seen anything, had no idea a Bigfoot had been sitting with my son moments before. I sat in the security office, staring at the paused footage, trying to process what I'd just watched. My son had a visitor, something impossible, something that came every night at exactly 2:30 a.m. and sat with him for hours, and I had no idea if this had been happening for days, weeks, or months. I pulled footage from the previous week, watched the same time period each night, and there it was. Every single night at 2:30 a.m., the Bigfoot entered Thomas's room, sat beside his bed, placed its hand on his chest, stayed until just before 4 a.m. nurse rounds, then left. 7 nights in a row. Same pattern, same timing, same gentle contact. I went back further. 2 weeks, a month, as far back as the security system archived footage, roughly 6 weeks, every single night. The creature had been visiting Thomas for at least 6 weeks, possibly longer if the pattern extended beyond the archived footage. I studied the creature's behavior frame by frame. The way it moved was deliberate, careful, protective. The way it touched Thomas was impossibly gentle. Massive hand that could probably crush a skull, resting on a small child's chest with such tenderness, it barely disturbed the blankets. This wasn't predatory behavior, wasn't aggressive or threatening. If anything, it looked caring, like the creature was keeping vigil over my son the same way I did every evening. But why? Why would a Bigfoot visit a comatose human child? What possible reason could it have? I pulled Thomas's medical chart from the nurse's station, studied his vitals for the past 6 weeks, looking for correlations with the creature's visits, and I found something that made my blood run cold. Thomas's heart rate and blood pressure stabilized noticeably during the hours of 2:30 to 4 a.m. His brain activity, measured through EEG monitoring, showed increased theta wave patterns during those same hours, patterns associated with REM sleep in healthy patients. The creature's visits were having measurable physiological effects on my son. If you're watching this and you've ever sat beside a hospital bed hoping for a miracle, hoping that somehow, impossible as it seems, your loved one will come back to you, stay with this story. My hospital supervisor told me nobody would care about old security tapes. But if you're still here, you're proving him wrong. Hit subscribe. Help me show that stories about hope, about impossible healing, about things we can't explain, these matter. Now, back to that Vermont hospital in 1985. The next night I adjusted my schedule, finished my rounds early, positioned myself in the security office with the live feed from Thomas's room and the hallway on dual monitors. At 2:27 a.m. I watched the hallway camera. Nothing. 2:28 a.m. still empty. 2:29 a.m. I held my breath. At 2:30 a.m. exactly, the Bigfoot appeared from the stairwell entrance, moved quickly but carefully down the hallway, checked both directions, then entered room 217. I switched to the interior camera, watched as the creature repeated its ritual. Pull chair close to bed, sit down, place hand gently on Thomas's chest. But tonight I was watching the medical monitors too. Within 3 minutes of the creature's touch, Thomas's heart rate decreased from 87 to 72 beats per minute. His blood pressure normalized. The EEG pattern shifted from erratic delta waves to smoother theta rhythms. My son's body was responding to the creature's presence, calming, stabilizing, showing patterns that suggested some level of brain activity beyond what the doctors said was possible. I made a decision that probably should have terrified me, but instead felt inevitable. I was going to meet this creature, going to confront whatever was visiting my son and find out why. At 3:30 a.m. I left the security office and walked to the long-term care ward, moved quietly down the hallway, approached room 217. Through the window in the door, I could see it clearly for the first time, not through grainy security footage, but in person. The Bigfoot was enormous, had to be 7.5 feet tall, maybe 400 pounds, covered in dark brown hair that was graying at the shoulders. Its back was to me, hand still resting on Thomas's chest. I opened the door slowly. The creature's head snapped toward me instantly, eyes locked on mine. Intelligent eyes, aware eyes, eyes that showed understanding and surprisingly guilt, like it had been caught doing something wrong. "Please don't run," I said quietly. "I'm not going to hurt you." I'm Thomas's father." The Bigfoot didn't move, watched me warily, hand still on my son's chest as if protecting him from me. I took 2 steps into the room, raised my hands to show I was unarmed. "I've been watching the security footage. I know you've been coming here every night. I need to understand why." The creature's expression was impossible to read, but it didn't run, didn't remove its hand from Thomas, just watched me, calculating, deciding. "Are you—" I struggled for words. "Are you helping him? Is that what you're doing?" The Bigfoot looked down at Thomas, made a soft sound, something between a grunt and a hum, then looked back at me and nodded slowly. It understood me, at least partially, and it was confirming what I'd suspected. It was here to help. I pulled up a second chair, sat on the opposite side of Thomas's bed from the creature. We stayed like that for 20 minutes, both of us watching my son, neither of us moving. Finally, I spoke. "The doctors say he's gone, that Thomas, the person he was, doesn't exist anymore, that the brain damage is permanent, but you're here. You keep coming back. Do you sense something they can't? Is he still in there?" The Bigfoot looked at me, then very deliberately moved its hand from Thomas's chest to his forehead, rested it there gently, closed its own eyes as if concentrating or sensing something. After a long moment, it opened its eyes and looked at me, nodded again. Yes, something was there. "Can you help him? Can you bring him back?" The creature's expression changed, not quite sadness, but something close. It made a gesture, palm up, fingers spread, a motion that suggested uncertainty or limitation. Maybe. Trying, not certain. "But you'll keep coming? Keep trying?" Another nod. Emphatic this time. "Yes." I felt tears on my face. "Thank you. Jesus Christ, thank you. He's all I have. He's everything. If there's any chance." The Bigfoot reached across Thomas's body with its free hand, touched my shoulder gently, the same gesture of comfort humans use, universal language of compassion. We sat together until 4:14 a.m. Then the creature carefully removed its hands from Thomas, stood, looked at me one more time with those intelligent eyes, made a soft sound that could have been goodbye or promise or both. Then it left, moving quickly to avoid the approaching nurse. The next day I came back to the hospital during visiting hours instead of working hours, sat with Thomas, held his hand, talked to him the way I always did. "You had a visitor last night," I said quietly. "A friend. Someone who's trying to help you come back. I don't understand how or why, but I think you're still in there, buddy. I think you're fighting to wake up, and you're not fighting alone." I squeezed Thomas's hand the way I'd done 1,000 times since the accident, expecting no response like always. His fingers moved, just barely, just enough to register as intentional rather than random muscle contraction. He squeezed back. I stared at our joined hands, unable to breathe. "Thomas, can you hear me?" Another squeeze. Weak, but unmistakable. Oh my God, buddy, you're in there. You're still in there." I hit the call button. When the nurse arrived, I was crying, holding Thomas's hand, watching his fingers move in response to my voice. "He squeezed my hand," I said. "He's responding. He heard me, and he squeezed my hand." The nurse checked his vitals, made notes, looked skeptical. "It could be reflexive. Involuntary muscle contractions are common." It wasn't involuntary. He did it when I asked him to. "Thomas, squeeze my hand again." His fingers tightened around mine. The nurse's expression changed. "I'll get Dr. Morrison." Dr. Morrison ran tests, measured responses, confirmed that Thomas was showing signs of awareness, minimal but present, emerging from the vegetative state in ways that shouldn't have been possible given the extent of his brain injury. "I don't understand it," Dr. Morrison said. "The damage was severe. We've seen no indication of improvement in 3 months, and now suddenly he's responsive. This is highly unusual." I knew why, knew exactly what had changed. A Bigfoot had been sitting with my son every night for weeks, somehow facilitating his emergence from unconsciousness through touch and presence. But I couldn't tell anyone, couldn't explain, could only watch as the doctors ran tests and made notes and called Thomas's recovery remarkable and medically unexplained. That night, I was in the security office when the creature arrived at its usual time. I'd left a note on the chair in Thomas's room. "Thank you. Keep coming. He's starting to wake up. Michael." I watched on the monitor as the Bigfoot read the note. It looked up at the security camera, looked directly at me even though it couldn't see me, and nodded. Then it sat down, placed its hand on Thomas's chest, and continued whatever impossible healing it was facilitating. My son had a guardian, something unexplainable, something that cared enough to risk exposure every single night to help a human child recover from catastrophic injury. And I had 42 tapes documenting every visit, proof of the impossible, evidence I would spend the rest of my life protecting from anyone who would exploit it. Over the following weeks, Thomas's improvement accelerated. The hand squeezes became more frequent, more purposeful. His eyes started tracking movement. He'd turn his head towards sounds, small improvements that doctors called miraculous, but couldn't explain. Every night, the Bigfoot continued its vigil. I'd adjusted my schedule to be present during the visits, sitting on the opposite side of Thomas's bed, both of us keeping watch over the slowly awakening child. The creature became comfortable with my presence, would nod at me when it arrived, acknowledge me with soft sounds, no longer showed the wariness it had initially. One night in early May, Thomas's eyes opened while the Bigfoot's hand rested on his forehead, his gaze focused, actually focused, on the creature's face. The Bigfoot froze, made a questioning sound. Thomas's mouth moved, trying to form words. "Big," he whispered. "First word in 4 months. Big. Friend." The creature made a sound that was unmistakably emotional, continued holding contact with Thomas's head, and my son's eyes drifted closed again, exhausted from the effort of speaking. But he'd spoken, recognized what he was seeing, called the creature a friend. The doctors wanted to run more tests, wanted to understand Thomas's recovery, document it for medical journals, study what they called spontaneous neurological regeneration. I refused additional testing beyond what was necessary for his care. Told them Thomas needed rest, not poking and prodding by researchers excited about publishing papers. Dr. Morrison pulled me aside. "Michael, I understand you're protective, but this is medically significant. Thomas's recovery shouldn't be possible. If we can understand what's happening, it could help other patients. No additional tests," I said firmly. "You focus on his care, that's all." I couldn't risk intensive monitoring, couldn't have doctors discovering that Thomas's brain activity spiked between 2:30 and 4 a.m. every night. Couldn't have them putting cameras in his room or running tests during those hours that might reveal his nighttime visitor. That evening, the Bigfoot arrived to find new equipment in Thomas's room, additional monitors the day shift had installed. It looked at me with clear concern. "It's okay," I said quietly. "I'll remove them after you leave. They're just standard monitoring. Nothing that will record you." The creature studied the equipment carefully, then looked at me, waiting. "I'm protecting you," I said. "And Thomas. I won't let anyone discover you're here. Won't let them turn this into a spectacle. You have my word." The Bigfoot held my gaze for a long moment, then nodded. Trust established. After it left that night, I disconnected the new monitors, filed a maintenance report saying they were malfunctioning. By morning, they'd been removed, and Thomas's room returned to minimal monitoring. Enough for medical care, not enough to detect anomalies during nighttime hours. The Bigfoot started bringing things, small objects from the forest outside the hospital, smooth river stones, interesting leaves, a perfectly intact bird's nest. It would place these items on Thomas's bedside table, careful arrangements that showed intention and care. I understood what they were. Get-well gifts. The same thing humans brought to hospital patients. Flowers, cards, tokens of affection and encouragement. The creature was visiting a sick child the way anyone would visit someone they cared about. I started leaving things too. Photos of Thomas from before the accident, smiling, playing, being a normal 6-year-old. A stuffed bear that had been Thomas's favorite. A drawing Thomas had made in kindergarten. The Bigfoot would examine these items carefully during visits, studied the photos with clear interest, understanding they showed Thomas healthy and whole, the promise of what recovery could look like. One night, I brought my cassette player and a tape of Thomas's favorite bedtime story, one I'd recorded myself reading to him before the accident. "I used to read this to him every night," I explained. "Maybe if he hears it, he'll remember. Maybe it'll help." The creature gestured for me to play it. We sat together, listening to my voice, reading, "Where the Wild Things Are," both of us watching Thomas's face for any response. Halfway through, Thomas's lips curved slightly. Not quite a smile, but close. Recognition of something familiar and comforting. The Bigfoot touched Thomas's hand gently, made a soft, pleased sound. The story had reached him somehow. After that, I brought the tape player every night. The creature would arrive, place its hand on Thomas, and I'd play the recording. A nightly ritual shared between man, child, and Bigfoot, using a children's story as a bridge between consciousness and unconsciousness. By mid-May, the three of us had developed a communication system. The Bigfoot couldn't speak but could nod, shake its head, make various sounds that I learned to interpret. I'd ask yes/no questions. It would respond. "Can you sense Thomas's thoughts?" Nod, yes. "Is he in pain?" Shake no. "Is he trying to wake up?" Emphatic nod. Yes. Can you help him? Uncertain gesture. Palm up, fingers spread. Trying. Hoping. Not sure. Thomas's progress continued. He'd stay awake for longer periods. Started making sounds deliberately instead of just reflexive noises. His eyes tracked movement consistently. He'd squeeze hands on request every time now. The doctors were baffled. Called it unprecedented recovery from persistent vegetative state. Started using words like miracle and medical anomaly. I knew the truth. Knew that every night a Bigfoot was facilitating neurological healing through some mechanism medicine couldn't measure or explain. Touch, presence, some form of energy or connection that science didn't have language for. One evening, Thomas was awake during the creature's arrival time. I'd stayed late, past 2:30 a.m., sitting with him while he watched me with those increasingly aware eyes. The Bigfoot entered the room. Thomas saw it immediately. His eyes widened. Big friend, he whispered again. Came back. The creature approached slowly, knelt beside the bed so its face was level with Thomas's, made a soft, gentle sound. Thomas smiled. Actually smiled. Nice, he said. Nice, big friend. The Bigfoot touched Thomas's face tenderly, made another sound, this one unmistakably affectionate. He visits you every night, I told Thomas. Has been since the beginning. He's helping you get better. Thank you, Thomas whispered to the creature. The Bigfoot made a sound that seemed emotional, continued holding contact with Thomas's face until my son drifted back to sleep. He'll remember this, I said to the creature after Thomas was unconscious again. When he's fully awake, he'll remember you. He'll want to tell people. The Bigfoot looked at me with clear concern. I know, I said. I'll handle it. I'll make sure he understands it has to stay secret. For your protection, for his, I promise. The creature studied me, then nodded. Trust deepening. Late May brought a crisis. Thomas developed a fever, infection from the feeding tube. His body started fighting, immune system finally engaging after months of passive existence. But with the fever came pain, distress. The monitors showed elevated heart rate, increased blood pressure. Thomas couldn't communicate what hurt, could only whimper and tense his body. That night, the Bigfoot arrived to find Thomas in obvious discomfort. It moved immediately to the bed, placed both hands on Thomas, one on his chest, one on his forehead. The transformation was immediate. Thomas's breathing slowed. His body relaxed. The heart monitor showed his rate dropping from 115 to 85 within minutes. The creature closed its eyes, concentrating. I watched something I couldn't explain. Some form of energy or healing or comfort passing from the Bigfoot to my son. After 20 minutes, Thomas was sleeping peacefully. Fever still present, but distress completely gone. The creature opened its eyes, looked at me, made a gesture. He'll be okay. This will pass. How did you do that? I whispered. How did you just take away his pain? The Bigfoot touched its own chest, then Thomas's chest, made a connecting gesture between them, then pointed to its head, to Thomas's head. Same gesture. You're saying you're connected to him somehow? That you can feel what he feels and help regulate it? Nod yes. Is that why you came here? Because you could sense he needed help? Another nod. Then the creature made a more complex series of gestures. Young ones suffering, alone, needed comfort. Basic concepts communicated through simple movements. He wasn't alone, I said, voice breaking. I was here every day. The creature made a gentle sound, touched my shoulder, then made a gesture that clearly meant, but you couldn't reach him the way I could. Different kind of connection. I understood. Whatever bond the Bigfoot had formed with Thomas existed on a level I couldn't access. Medical science couldn't access. Something beyond physical touch or verbal communication. Some deeper connection between conscious beings that transcended species. Thank you, I said, for reaching him when I couldn't, for being there in the ways I can't be. The creature squeezed my shoulder gently. We're both here for him now, both keeping vigil. Different roles, but same purpose. That night, I labeled a new tape. The night Thomas had fever. Evidence of direct healing response. Added it to the growing archive of impossible documentation. Early June brought attention I didn't want. A medical researcher from Boston heard about Thomas's case. Spontaneous recovery from persistent vegetative state in pediatric patient with severe TBI and wanted to visit. Study Thomas. Document his recovery for research purposes. Dr. Morrison was enthusiastic. This could be groundbreaking, Michael. Dr. Chen is a leading neurologist. If we can understand what's happening with Thomas, it might help countless other patients. No, I said immediately. Thomas is still fragile. He doesn't need researchers poking at him. Dr. Chen just wants to run some tests. Non-invasive monitoring. Brain scans to see how the neural pathways are regenerating. I said no. Dr. Morrison's expression hardened. Michael, I understand you're protective, but you're not a doctor. You don't get to make decisions that could impact medical advancement. If you refuse to cooperate, I'll have to involve the hospital ethics board. Panic flooded through me. An ethics board meant intensive review of Thomas's case, meant detailed analysis of his medical records, meant someone might notice the pattern, that his improvement correlated with specific nighttime hours, meant someone might install additional monitoring, might discover his nighttime visitor. 1 week, I said. Give me 1 week to help Thomas adjust to the idea of tests. Then Dr. Chen can visit. Dr. Morrison agreed reluctantly. I had 7 days to figure out how to protect the Bigfoot while appearing to cooperate with medical research. I explained the situation to the creature that night. Researchers are coming. They want to study Thomas's recovery. They're going to run tests, including overnight monitoring. They'll discover you're here. The Bigfoot looked alarmed, made a gesture. Should I stop coming? No, I said firmly. Thomas still needs you. He's improving but not fully recovered yet. We just need to be more careful. The creature made an uncertain sound, looked at Thomas, sleeping peacefully, then back at me. The conflict was clear in its expression, wanting to help but understanding the risk. I have an idea, I continued. What if you came earlier, before midnight? The monitoring equipment focuses on sleep cycles between 2 and 6 a.m. If you visited between 11 p.m. and midnight, you'd be outside the standard observation window. The Bigfoot considered this, made a questioning gesture. Would that still help Thomas? I think so. The connection you have, it's not about specific timing, is it? It's about the contact itself. Nod yes. Then another gesture. But what about nurses, staff? I'll arrange it. I'm maintenance supervisor. I control when cleaning crews work each ward. I can make sure the long-term care floor is clear during that hour. No interruptions. The creature looked at me for a long moment, then nodded slowly. We'll try. For 3 nights, the new schedule worked perfectly. The Bigfoot came at 11:15 p.m., stayed until 11:55 p.m. Thomas continued improving. No one noticed the change. Then I made my mistake. Dr. Chen arrived on a Wednesday. Professional, thorough, immediately skeptical of Thomas's spontaneous recovery. I'd like to install comprehensive monitoring, she said. Full EEG panel, cardiac telemetry, even overnight video observation to document any seizure activity or distress patterns. Video observation? My voice came out too sharp. Standard for neurological cases. We need to see how the patient behaves during all phases of sleep. Sometimes there are patterns visible on video that don't register on traditional monitors. I'd run out of excuses, refuse too much, and I'd lose custody of Thomas to hospital administration. They'd call me an obstruction to his care. Fine, I said, but only for 1 week. Then the equipment comes out. Dr. Chen smiled. 1 week should give us plenty of data. They installed cameras that night, full coverage of Thomas's room, every angle, 24-hour recording. When the Bigfoot appeared at 11:15 p.m., it saw the cameras immediately, froze in the doorway, looked directly at the nearest lens, then at me sitting beside Thomas's bed. I shook my head slowly, mouthed, I'm sorry. Couldn't stop them. The creature backed out of the room, disappeared into the hallway. Thomas stirred in his sleep, restless. His heart rate elevated slightly on the monitors. His body sensed the absence even unconscious. The Bigfoot didn't return that night, or the next, or the next. By the 5th day, Thomas's improvement had plateaued. Not regressed, thank God, but stopped advancing. No new words, no new movements, just maintenance of progress already made. Interesting, Dr. Chen said, reviewing the data. The rate of recovery has slowed significantly, almost like whatever mechanism was driving the healing has paused. Because it had. The mechanism was a 7.5-foot Bigfoot that could no longer risk visiting because cameras documented everything. I watched security footage every night, hoping to see the creature in the hallways, hoping it would find a way. But it stayed away, protected itself from discovery, even though that meant abandoning the child it had been helping for months. I understood, couldn't blame it, but Thomas needed it, needed whatever healing connection they'd formed, and I'd destroyed it by failing to protect their secret. I'm sharing this now because my son is 45 years old, healthy and whole, and he just watched these tapes for the first time. He doesn't remember most of his recovery. The brain injury left gaps, but he remembers the Bigfoot, remembers calling it Big Friend. He asked me why I never told anyone. I told him some things matter more than proof. Subscribe if you believe that protecting the ones who save us is more important than being believed. That loyalty matters more than validation. Now let me show you what happened when I thought I'd lost our guardian forever. 2 weeks after the cameras were installed, Dr. Chen finished her research. Remarkable case, she concluded. The initial recovery phase shows neuroplasticity we can't fully explain, but it seems to have reached a natural plateau. I'll publish the findings, of course. Medical journals will be very interested. The equipment was removed on a Friday. By Friday night, Thomas's room was back to minimal monitoring. I sat with Thomas during visiting hours, holding his hand, talking to him even though he seemed distant now, less engaged than he'd been before the cameras. "I'm sorry, buddy," I whispered. "I'm sorry I couldn't protect our friend. I'm sorry I let them scare it away." Thomas squeezed my hand weakly. His eyes opened, focused on my face. "Big friend," he said softly, one of his few reliable phrases. "Sad. I know. I'm sad too. Come back? I don't know, Thomas. I don't know if it will." That night, I was in the security office at 11 p.m., not expecting anything, just going through the motions of a job I'd come to hate because it meant watching cameras that had driven away the only thing helping my son. At 11:14 p.m., movement in the stairwell. My heart stopped. The Bigfoot emerged cautiously, checked the hallways, moved to Thomas's room. I switched to the interior camera, holding my breath. The creature entered slowly, looked around carefully, confirming the cameras were gone. Then approached Thomas's bed. Thomas's eyes opened immediately. "Big friend," voice stronger than I'd heard in days, "came back." The Bigfoot made a soft emotional sound, knelt beside the bed, placed both hands on Thomas, one on his chest, one on his face. Thomas smiled. Actually smiled. "Missed you." The creature's shoulders shook. It was crying. I could see it even on the grainy monitor. This massive, impossible being crying with relief at being reunited with the child it had been healing. I left the security office, walked to Thomas's room, entered quietly. The Bigfoot looked up at me. Its eyes were wet, expression raw with emotion. "I'm sorry," I said, voice breaking. "I'm so sorry I couldn't stop them. I tried to protect you, but I failed. I understand if you can't trust me anymore, if you need to stay away to be safe, but Thomas, he needs you. He's been stuck since you left. Not getting worse, but not getting better. Whatever you're doing for him, it's the only thing that's working." The creature looked at me for a long moment, then removed one hand from Thomas and extended it toward me, palm up, an offering. I stepped forward, placed my hand in its massive palm. The Bigfoot closed its fingers gently around my hand, squeezed softly, then placed my hand on Thomas's chest alongside its own hand. We stood like that, man, creature, child, connected through touch. Three beings who shouldn't have been in relationship, bound by need and care and something deeper than logic. "I'll protect you," I whispered. "No more researchers, no more cameras, no more threats, I promise." The Bigfoot nodded, then made a gesture. "We protect together, not just you protecting me. We both protect Thomas. Partners." I understood what it was teaching me in that moment. Forgiveness isn't about forgetting harm or pretending betrayal didn't happen. It's about choosing relationship over resentment, choosing to continue caring even when trust has been damaged, choosing hope over hurt. "Thank you," I said, "for coming back, for not giving up on him, for not giving up on us." The creature squeezed my hand again, made a sound that might have been, "Family doesn't give up, even when scared, even when hurt. Family comes back." Thomas reached up with his small hand, touched the Bigfoot's arm. "Stay?" he asked. The creature looked down at him, made a gentle sound. "Yes, I'm staying. I'm not leaving again." We stayed like that for 20 minutes. Then I returned to the security office, and the Bigfoot continued its vigil until just before midnight. When it left, it paused at the door, looked at the camera, looked at me through the lens and raised one hand. Not quite a wave, more like an acknowledgement. "We're okay now. Trust rebuilt." I labeled that tape, "The Return, Lesson in Forgiveness and Family." Added it to the archive of impossible love. Thomas's speech therapy began in late June. He could say maybe 20 words, but forming full sentences was still beyond him. The therapists were optimistic, but realistic. Brain injury recovery is slow. Don't expect rapid progress. One evening I was in Thomas's room during visiting hours, trying to help him practice. "Try to say, 'I want water,'" I encouraged. "You can do it, buddy. I want water. Wah." Thomas's face scrunched with frustration. "Water. That's great, almost there. Try again." "Water." Tears formed in his eyes. "Can't." "Yes, you can. Just keep trying. I want water. Come on, Thomas." "Can't." He was crying now, frustrated, hitting the bed with his small fists. I felt my own frustration rising. After everything, after the accident, the coma, the impossible creature healing him, he was awake, but still broken, still struggling. When would it be enough? When would he just be okay? That night, the Bigfoot arrived to find me sitting in the corner, head in my hands, emotionally exhausted. The creature looked at me, then at Thomas, sleeping restlessly, approached me slowly, placed one massive hand on my shoulder. I looked up. I don't know how much more I can take. I'm tired. He's trying so hard, and it's still so difficult. I just want him to be normal again. I want this to be over. The Bigfoot made a thoughtful sound, then did something unexpected. It picked up one of Thomas's picture books from the bedside table, opened it, pointed to a picture of a tree, small sapling in one panel, full-grown tree in another. Then it made a gesture. Slow growth, time, patience. I know, I said. I know recovery takes time, but I'm so tired of waiting. The creature shook its head gently, made another gesture, more complex, not waiting, growing, different things. It pointed to the sapling picture again, made a gesture like watering, like sunlight, like care, then pointed to the full-grown tree, not instant, not magic, just time plus care plus patience. You're saying Thomas isn't stuck, he's growing, just slowly. Nod, yes. Then the creature touched my chest, my heart, made a slowing gesture. Be slow too, match his pace. Don't rush. I understood what it was teaching me. Recovery isn't a race to finish, it's a process to inhabit. Rushing creates pressure. Pressure creates frustration. Frustration damages the delicate work of healing. The Bigfoot sat beside Thomas's bed, placed its hand on his chest with that characteristic gentleness, made a sound that meant, I've been doing this for months. Same patience, every night, no rushing, just presence. How do you do it? I asked. How do you keep showing up with that same patience every single night? The creature looked at me, made a gesture that I interpreted as, because this matters, because he matters. Time doesn't matter when the work is worth it. That was lesson 1. Patience isn't about waiting for change. It's about being present during change, trusting the process even when progress is invisible. By August, Thomas was speaking in short sentences, walking with assistance, eating solid food. The doctors were calling his recovery unprecedented and near miraculous, but he wasn't the same child he'd been before the accident. His memory had gaps, his coordination was impaired. He processed information more slowly, laughed at different things, startled easily, needed constant reassurance. I found myself mourning the child he'd been, the Thomas who rode bikes without fear, who made friends easily, who was confident and quick and unburdened by trauma. One evening, Thomas was drawing something he'd loved before the accident, but his fine motor control was damaged. The pictures were crude, childish, nothing like the detailed drawings he used to make. I can't draw anymore, he said sadly, looking at the messy scribbles. I used to draw good. Now I draw bad. You'll get better, I said automatically. Just keep practicing. But what if I don't? What if this is how I am now? I didn't have an answer. Because what if this was who he was now? What if the old Thomas was gone forever and I was left with this version? Damaged, struggling, fundamentally changed. That night, the Bigfoot arrived and immediately noticed my energy. Looked at me questioningly. Thomas knows he's different, I said. Knows he's not who he was before, and I don't know how to help him accept that, because I'm struggling to accept it too. The creature made a thoughtful sound, picked up one of Thomas's new drawings, a lopsided house with a crooked sun, then picked up one of the old drawings I'd brought from home, a detailed picture of a superhero Thomas had made before the accident. It placed them side by side, pointed to the old drawing, then made a gesture. Past, gone, then pointed to the new drawing, made a different gesture. Now, here, real. I know they're different, I said. That's the problem. The new one isn't as good. The Bigfoot shook its head firmly, made a gesture I struggled to interpret. Then it did something remarkable. It took the new drawing and held it up like it was precious, made a sound that conveyed appreciation, value. You're saying the new drawing has its own worth, even though it's not as skilled? Nod yes. Then the creature placed both drawings on Thomas's bed, made a gesture. Different, not less, just different. It pointed to itself, made a gesture that suggested, I am different from humans, not less, just different. Then pointed to Thomas, made the same gesture. He is different now, not less, just different. But he lost so much, I said, voice breaking. He lost abilities, memories, parts of himself. The Bigfoot touched its chest, made a gesture that suggested deep feeling, then pointed to Thomas sleeping, made the same gesture. Still here, still Thomas, still full of value and worth and love. How do I help him accept what he's lost? The creature made a complex series of gestures. Don't focus on loss. Focus on what remains, what's still here, what's still possible. Then it did something that broke me. It picked up Thomas's crude drawing and very carefully placed it in my hands. Made a sound that clearly meant, treasure this. This is who he is now, and now is all we have. Lesson 2. Acceptance isn't giving up on improvement. It's honoring what is while working toward what could be. The person someone becomes after trauma isn't less valuable than who they were before, just different. And different can still be beautiful. September brought a new challenge. Thomas needed to transition from hospital care to home. He was well enough to leave but still required support. Physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy, regular medical monitoring. I'd have to figure out how to be a full-time caregiver while working enough to pay for all the ongoing treatment. The logistics were overwhelming. What about family? The discharge coordinator asked. Parents? Siblings? Anyone who could help? There's no one, I said. His mother died years ago. My parents are gone. My brother and I haven't spoken in a decade. It's just me. That's going to be difficult, Mr. Reeves. Thomas needs consistent care. Have you considered a group home? We have facilities. No. The word came out harsh. No institutions. No group homes. He stays with me. But I was terrified. How was I supposed to do this alone? Be everything Thomas needed while managing my own exhaustion and grief and terror. That night, I confessed my fears to the Bigfoot. He's coming home next week, and I don't know how to do this. I'm alone. Completely alone. There's no one to help, no one to share the burden, no one to tell me I'm doing it right. The creature made a soft, questioning sound. I've always been alone, I continued. Even when Thomas's mum was alive, she didn't want the responsibility of a kid. I've been solo parenting since he was born, and I'm tired. I'm so tired of carrying everything by myself. The Bigfoot was quiet for a long moment. Then it did something it had never done before. It reached out and pulled me close. Not a hug exactly, more like a gesture of inclusion, bringing me into its space. What are you doing? I asked. The creature made a sound, then gestured to itself, to me, to Thomas. Made a connecting motion, drawing a circle around all three of us. You're saying we're connected, the three of us? Nod. Yes. Then the creature made a more complex gesture. You think you're alone, but I'm here. Every night. For months. Not leaving, not abandoning. Here. I felt tears start. But you're not human. You can't help with the daily care, the therapy appointments, the medical decisions. The Bigfoot shook its head gently, made another gesture. Help isn't always practical. Sometimes help is just presence, knowing you're not alone. It sat down on the floor, back against the wall, patted the space beside it. I sat down too. We stayed like that for an hour, just sitting together in comfortable silence, not solving problems, not fixing anything, just being present. At one point, the creature reached over and touched my arm, made a sound that conveyed, this is connection. This is how we survive alone but not alone. We find others who care, who show up, who stay. Lesson 3. You don't have to face impossible things alone, but connection doesn't always look like you expect. Sometimes the help you need isn't someone who can fix your problems. Sometimes it's someone who simply refuses to leave, who keeps showing up, who says through presence, you matter enough for me to be here. Thomas came home in early October. I'd converted my bedroom into his room, closer to the bathroom, easier access. I slept on the couch. The first week was chaos. Therapy appointments, medication schedules, adapting the house for his needs, learning to manage his care alone. I was exhausted, overwhelmed, barely keeping up. I'd also quit the hospital job, couldn't manage night shifts while caring for Thomas during the day, picked up construction work again, but now money was even tighter. Medical bills piled up. Insurance covered some, but not all. I was drowning financially on top of everything else. One evening, I was at the kitchen table sorting bills, trying to figure out how to pay everything. Electric, water, gas, medical supplies, therapy co-pays, medications. The numbers didn't work. I was going to have to choose what to pay and what to let slide. Thomas came into the kitchen with his walker. Dad, you okay? Yeah, buddy, just trying to figure out grown-up stuff. He looked at the bills. That's a lot of papers. Yeah, it's complicated. I hadn't seen the Bigfoot since Thomas left the hospital. Assumed the relationship was over. It had been a hospital thing, bound to that specific time and place. But that night, I heard sounds outside. Opened the back door to find the creature standing at the edge of the woods behind our house. You found us, I breathed. You tracked us here? The Bigfoot nodded, made a questioning gesture. Can I come closer? Thomas is inside, asleep. Do you want to see him? Another nod. The creature approached the house carefully. I led it to Thomas's window. It looked through, saw Thomas sleeping peacefully in his own bed. The Bigfoot made a satisfied sound, touched the window glass gently. then turned to me, gestured for us to sit on the back porch. We sat in silence for a while. Then I explained the situation. I'm trying to keep up with bills, therapy, care, work. It's too much. Everything costs money. Everything is complicated. There are forms and insurance claims and payment plans, and it never ends. The creature listened carefully, then made a gesture toward the woods, pointed to the trees, the sky, the earth. I don't understand what you're showing me. The Bigfoot made another gesture, simple, then pointed to itself, made a sweeping motion. I live in the woods, no bills, no forms, no complications. Well, yeah, but you're... I stopped, realized what it was trying to say. The creature continued, pointed to food growing wild, water from streams, shelter from natural caves and trees, made a gesture that suggested everything I need is already provided. No money required. Simple. Then it pointed to my house, made a gesture showing complexity. Walls, lights, heat, water systems, bills, money to maintain it all. You're saying humans have made life unnecessarily complicated? Nod, yes. Then the creature made a more nuanced gesture. Some complexity serves purpose. Keeping Thomas warm, dry, safe, this matters, but much of human complication is extra, not essential. It picked up some of the bills I'd brought outside, looked at them with clear confusion, made a questioning gesture. Why so much paper for simple things like water and heat? I almost laughed. Because that's how our system works. Everything has a cost. Everything requires payment. The Bigfoot made a sound that conveyed skepticism, put the bills down, made a gesture. You spend so much time managing the complicated things that you have less time for the simple things, less time just being with Thomas, just living. But I don't have a choice. The complicated things are necessary to survive in human society. The creature shook its head gently, made a gesture toward Thomas's window. What does he need most? Really? I thought about it. He needs care, therapy, medicine. The Bigfoot made a partial agreement gesture, then pointed to its own heart, to my heart, to Thomas sleeping inside, made a connecting gesture. He needs love, presence, safety. Those don't cost money. Lesson 4. Humans have created systems so complex that we spend most of our energy managing the system instead of living. Not all complexity serves us. Sometimes the most important things are the simplest: presence, care, love. These cost nothing but matter most. Winter brought new challenges. Thomas caught a cold that turned into pneumonia. His damaged immune system couldn't fight it off effectively. Back to the hospital. Back to monitors and IV antibiotics and terrifying moments when his breathing became labored. I sat beside his bed for 3 days straight, watching him struggle, feeling helpless all over again. I can't do this again, I whispered to no one. I can't watch him almost die again. I thought we were past this. The Bigfoot appeared in the doorway late one night. Hospital security had gotten lax. I'd built enough relationships that my unusual visitor wasn't questioned. The night nurses knew something helped Thomas and wisely chose not to ask questions. The creature entered, looked at Thomas with clear concern, placed its hand on his chest. Thomas's breathing eased almost immediately. The monitors showed his oxygen levels rising. How do you keep doing this? I asked the Bigfoot. Keep showing up, keep helping even when things get hard again? Don't you get tired? Don't you want to give up? The creature looked at me, made a simple gesture. No, never give up. But why? What keeps you going when things keep going wrong? The Bigfoot thought for a moment, then made a series of gestures I had to work to interpret. Life is cycles. Good, hard, good, hard. The hard times don't erase the good times. The good times don't prevent hard times. Both exist, both matter. It touched Thomas gently, made another gesture. He survived impossible thing, then got sick again. This doesn't mean first survival was meaningless, doesn't mean he's not strong. Means he's still alive and still fighting. But it feels like we're going backward, like all the progress was for nothing. The creature shook its head firmly, made a gesture showing forward movement with obstacles. Progress isn't straight line. Progress is many lines, forward, backward, sideways, forward again. Still moving overall even when feels like going backward. Then it did something profound. It placed one hand on Thomas's chest, one hand on my shoulder. Made a sound that conveyed, we're both still here, still fighting, still choosing life over despair. That's resilience. Lesson 5. Resilience isn't avoiding hardship or preventing setbacks. It's continuing to show up, to care, to try, even when progress isn't linear. Even when life cycles back to hard times. The measure of strength isn't never falling, it's getting back up. Every single time. Thomas recovered from the pneumonia. Came home before Christmas. By January, we'd settled into something like routine, but I noticed the Bigfoot was moving slower. Its fur had more silver. It sat down more often during visits, as if standing tired it out. One night in late January, the creature arrived later than usual, moved stiffly, sat heavily on the floor beside Thomas's bed. "Are you okay?" I asked. "You seem, tired." The Bigfoot made a sound acknowledging truth, then gestured to itself. Old, aging, mortal. The realization hit me hard. This being that had seemed so strong, so enduring, so nearly mythical. It was mortal. It would die someday. Maybe someday soon. "How old are you?" I asked quietly. The creature made a gesture I interpreted as old enough. Been alive long time, but not forever. We sat in silence. Thomas sleeping peacefully. The Bigfoot and I both aging. It faster than me. Both of us moving toward inevitable ends. "I don't want this to end," I finally said. "I don't want Thomas to lose you. Don't want to lose you." The Bigfoot made a gentle sound, reached over and took my hand, made a gesture. Nothing lasts forever. Trees grow, then fall. Animals are born, then die. Even mountains erode. Impermanence is the nature of existence. But that's so sad. The creature shook its head, made another gesture. Not sad. Natural, beautiful because temporary, precious because limited. It pointed to Thomas, made a gesture. He almost died. You know how precious every day is now. Every word, every smile. Not taking for granted because you know it could end. So you're saying impermanence makes things more valuable? Nod yes. Then the Bigfoot made a profound gesture. If I lived forever, these visits would be routine, expected, not special. Because I'm mortal, because this will end, every visit matters. Every connection matters. It squeezed my hand, made a sound that meant, when I'm gone, you'll remember these nights. Remember the being who cared enough to cross species boundaries to help your child. Remember that something impossible loved you both. Memory lasts even when physical presence doesn't. Lesson 6. Impermanence isn't life's tragedy, it's life's teacher. Everything ends, everyone dies. But that doesn't make the connection meaningless. It makes it precious. Love matters most because it's temporary. Presence matters most because it won't last forever. The certainty of ending is what gives meaning to the middle. By March 1986, Thomas was 8 years old, 14 months post-accident. He'd regained most of his functioning, walked without assistance, spoke in full sentences, attended a special education program that accommodated his processing delays. He was different than he'd been before the accident, would always be different. But he was alive, aware, growing, learning. A miracle by any measure. I was 44 years old, hair graying at the temples, back bothering me from years of construction work, tired in ways I'd never been tired before the accident. The Bigfoot was ancient by my estimation, moved slowly, deliberately, breathed heavily after walking any distance, sat more often than it stood. One evening in April, Thomas and I were outside when the creature emerged from the woods just before dark. Thomas ran to it, carefully, aware of its fragility. "Big friend, you came early." The Bigfoot knelt slowly, joints creaking, embraced Thomas gently, made a soft, affectionate sound. I joined them, the three of us sitting in the grass behind my house. Man, child, creature, all of us aging in our different ways. "You're old now," Thomas said with childlike directness, like really old. The Bigfoot made a sound that might have been laughter, nodded yes. "Are you going to die soon?" "Thomas," I said sharply. "That's not..." The creature held up a hand, made a gesture. Honest question deserves honest answer, then nodded to Thomas. "Yes, someday, relatively soon." Thomas's eyes filled with tears. "I don't want you to die. You saved me. You're my friend." The Bigfoot touched Thomas's face tenderly, made a gesture. "I won't be here forever, but I'm here now, and now is what matters." The visits changed after that conversation. Became less about healing. Thomas didn't need healing anymore, and more about simply being together. The Bigfoot would arrive at dusk. We'd sit outside if weather permitted, or inside if not. Didn't do anything special, just existed in each other's presence. Sometimes Thomas would tell stories about his day, school, friends, small triumphs and frustrations. The creature would listen attentively, making sounds of interest or encouragement. Sometimes I'd talk about work, about bills, about mundane adult concerns. The Bigfoot would listen to those too, offering the gift of witnessing human struggle without judgment. Sometimes we'd just sit in silence, comfortable silence, the kind that exists between beings who don't need words to communicate care. The frequency of visits decreased naturally. The creature couldn't make the journey as often. Once a week became once every 2 weeks, then once a month. But each visit felt fuller, more intentional. Less about the future, more about the present moment. One evening in June, Thomas was drawing at the kitchen table. The Bigfoot sat beside him, watching with clear interest. Thomas reached over and took the creature's hand. "Can you draw too?" The Bigfoot looked at the crayons, carefully picked one up. The crayon looked tiny in its massive hand, made a few experimental marks on paper. The drawing was crude but intentional. A small human figure, a large creature figure standing together. "That's us," Thomas said delightedly. "That's me and you." The Bigfoot made a pleased sound, carefully added another figure, taller human, pointed to me. "That's Dad, you drew all of us." The creature nodded, looked at the drawing with satisfaction, made a gesture. "Family." Thomas hugged the Bigfoot's arm. "Yeah, family." I watched them together, child and creature, drawing pictures like the most natural thing in the world. Felt a wave of gratitude and grief all at once. Gratitude for this impossible gift, grief for its inevitable ending. Later that evening, after Thomas went to bed, the Bigfoot and I sat on the porch. The creature leaned against me slightly, something it had never done before, a gesture of trust and exhaustion both. "You're tired," I said softly. The Bigfoot made an acknowledging sound. "Yes, very tired, but you keep coming." Another sound, of course. Family doesn't stop coming just because it's hard. I put my arm around its shoulders. We sat like that for an hour. No words, just presence. Just two beings who'd witnessed each other through impossible circumstances, resting together in the certainty that time was running out. August 1986, a hot Sunday afternoon. Thomas was playing in the yard. I was fixing the porch railing. The Bigfoot emerged from the woods earlier than usual. Daylight still bright, moving slowly, clearly laboring. "You okay?" I called out. The creature made a sound that meant, "Needed to come now. Can't wait for dark anymore." Thomas saw it, ran over. "Big friend, are you sick?" The Bigfoot sat down heavily on the grass, breathing hard. Made a gesture. "Just tired, just old." We sat with it. Thomas on one side, me on the other. The creature reached out, placed one hand on Thomas's head, one hand on my shoulder, made a sound that conveyed, "Look at him. Look how far he's come. Remember when he was dying in that hospital bed? Remember when doctors said he'd never wake up?" "I remember," I whispered. "I remember everything." Another gesture. "You both survived impossible thing, both stronger than you knew, both here alive together. This is what matters." Thomas leaned against the creature's side. "I love you, big friend. Even though you're not human, even though people say you shouldn't exist, I love you." The Bigfoot made a sound that was unmistakably emotional, pulled Thomas close, held him like that for a long time. Then it looked at me, made a final gesture. "Thank you for letting me be part of this, for protecting me, for understanding what we built here mattered more than proof." "Thank you," I said, voice breaking, "for saving him, for teaching us, for caring about us when you didn't have to." The creature nodded slowly. "We're even. We saved each other." We sat like that until sunset. Then the Bigfoot stood slowly, painfully, touched Thomas's face one more time, touched my shoulder, made a sound that meant, not goodbye yet, but soon. Then it walked back into the woods, slower than I'd ever seen it move, old and tired and ready for rest, but not quite ready to stop showing up. October 14th, 1986. I remember the date because it was Thomas's 9th birthday, 2 years and 11 months after the accident. We had a small party, just Thomas, me, and 2 kids from his special education class. Cake, presents, games in the yard. Thomas was happy, fully present, thriving in ways that shouldn't have been possible. After the other kids went home, Thomas and I cleaned up. He was quiet, thoughtful. "What's wrong, buddy?" I asked. "Big friend didn't come. Hasn't come in a while." It had been 3 weeks since the last visit, the longest gap yet. "I think Big friend is getting really old," Thomas said softly. "I think maybe Big friend is dying." "Maybe," I admitted. There was no point lying. Thomas understood mortality now, had learned it the hard way. "Can we go to the woods, see if Big friend is there?" We walked to the edge of the property just before sunset, stood at the tree line waiting. The Bigfoot emerged from the shadows, moving so slowly, so carefully, each step clearly painful. "Big friend." Thomas ran to it. The creature knelt down, struggled to kneel, really, and embraced Thomas. Made a sound that was part greeting, part goodbye. I approached slowly, saw the creature's condition up close. It was dying. Not immediately, but soon. Maybe days, maybe weeks, but definitely dying. The Bigfoot held Thomas for a long time, then carefully reached into the fur at its side, pulled out something small, a stone, perfectly smooth, reddish-brown, size of a silver dollar. It placed the stone in Thomas's hand, closed the small fingers around it carefully. Thomas looked at the stone, then at the creature. "What is this?" The Bigfoot made a gesture. "Remember me, when I'm gone. Hold this and remember." "You're leaving." Thomas's voice broke. Forever? The creature nodded slowly, made another gesture. My time is finished. I'm old. I'm tired. I'm ready to rest. But I'm not ready for you to leave. The Bigfoot touched Thomas's face, made a gentle sound, then pressed its forehead against Thomas's forehead. Stayed like that for several minutes. I watched something pass between them. Not words, not even gestures, just connection. Deep recognition. Soul acknowledging soul. When the creature pulled back, Thomas was crying. Thank you for saving me. Thank you for coming every night. Thank you for being my friend. The Bigfoot made a sound that meant you saved me too. Gave me purpose. Gave me love. We saved each other. Then it turned to me, placed both hands on my shoulders, looked directly into my eyes. I understood what it was saying without any gestures. Take care of him, keep him safe, keep him healthy. This is your job now. I'm passing the responsibility back to you. I will, I promised. I'll protect him. I'll make sure he lives a full life. I'll make sure what you did matters. The Bigfoot nodded, squeezed my shoulders, then made one final gesture. And protect the tapes. Don't let them exploit what we built. Some things are sacred. Some things should stay secret. The creature stood slowly, painfully, looked at both of us one more time. Thomas held up the stone. I'll keep this forever. I'll remember you forever. The Bigfoot raised one hand, not quite a wave, more like a benediction, a blessing. Then it turned and walked into the woods, moving slowly, deliberately, each step taking it further from us. About 30 feet in, it stopped, looked back. Our eyes met across the distance, man and creature, two beings who had witnessed the impossible together. The Bigfoot raised its hand one more time, made a sound that carried through the evening air. Thank you, goodbye, remember. Then it turned away and continued walking. The forest swallowed it quickly. Within seconds, it was gone. Thomas and I stood at the edge of the woods, watching the space where it had disappeared. We never saw the Bigfoot again. Thomas kept the stone on his bedside table, held it every night before sleep for years. I kept the tapes, all 42 of them. Documented proof that a Bigfoot had spent 8 months healing my son. Evidence that would revolutionize science, prove the impossible, change everything. But I never showed them to anyone. Never told anyone beyond this accounting. Because some things matter more than proof. Some things matter more than being believed. The creature trusted us, protected my son, loved us both in ways that transcended species and logic, and we protected it in return, kept its secret. Let it die in peace without scientists hunting for its body or researchers trying to find more of its kind. That was the deal. Unspoken, but absolute. Protection in exchange for protection. Love in exchange for love. That's what family means. I'm 78 years old now. Thomas is 45. Healthy, employed, married, 3 kids of his own. Lives a full life that doctors said would be impossible. He has a slight limp. Processes information a bit slower than average. Gets headaches sometimes. But he's alive, aware, thriving. We never talked about the Bigfoot for years. It felt too sacred, too private, something that existed between the 3 of us and should stay there. But last month, Thomas came to my house, told me he'd been thinking about the creature, wondering if it had really happened or if childhood trauma had created false memories. So I showed him the tapes. We watched them together. 42 VHS recordings of a Bigfoot visiting his hospital room every night, sitting with him, touching him, healing him through some mechanism medicine can't explain. Thomas cried, partly from relief. It was real, he wasn't crazy. Partly from grief, mourning the friend he'd loved and lost. Partly from gratitude so profound it had no adequate words. Why didn't you ever show anyone, he asked. Why didn't you prove it was real? Because proving it would have destroyed it, I said. Would have made it a spectacle, made you a spectacle. Made the creature's final years a nightmare of being hunted and studied. So you chose silence. I chose protection. The creature protected you. I protected the creature. That's how love works. Here's what I think that Bigfoot was trying to show us about being human, about the things that actually matter. First, patience is presence. Recovery isn't linear. Healing isn't fast. Growth happens in ways we can't see or measure, and rushing it only damages the work. The creature showed up every single night with the same gentle touch, the same quiet presence, never demanding faster results. It taught me that real care means matching pace with the person who needs help, not forcing them to match yours. Second, accept what is. Thomas isn't who he was before the accident. He's different, but different doesn't mean less. The creature never treated Thomas as broken or damaged, just as a being who needed help. It saw value in what Thomas was becoming, not mourning for what he'd lost. That's the hardest lesson, seeing worth in the transformed version rather than grieving the original. Third, you're not alone if you let connection happen. I thought I was solo parenting, carrying everything myself. But the creature showed me that help doesn't always look human, doesn't always look expected. Sometimes the support you need comes from impossible sources. Sometimes family means a human father, a brain-injured child, and a Bigfoot who crossed species boundaries because caring mattered more than logic. Fourth, humans complicate what could be simple. We've built systems so complex that we spend most of our energy maintaining the system instead of living. Bills, paperwork, insurance, bureaucracy, all of it pulls us away from what actually matters. Loving each other, being present, witnessing each other's lives. The creature lived in the woods with nothing and had everything that mattered. We live in houses with everything and sometimes have nothing that matters. Fifth, resilience means showing up even when things cycle back to hard. Life isn't one trajectory. It's many cycles. Good times, hard times, good times again. The creature kept coming even when Thomas had setbacks, even when progress stalled, even when things got hard again. That's resilience. Not avoiding difficulty, but continuing to care through it. And finally, impermanence makes things precious. The creature was mortal. Our time together was limited, and that's what made it sacred. If the Bigfoot had lived forever, the visits would have been routine. Because they would end, each one mattered. Every connection matters more because it won't last. Every day with someone you love matters more because someday there won't be more days. The Bigfoot wasn't magical, wasn't supernatural, wasn't some mystical forest guardian from folklore. It was a mortal being, old, alone, nearing the end of its life. It found a dying human child and chose to help. That's all. Simple as that, and as profound as that. Maybe it had lost children of its own. Maybe it understood grief and wanted to prevent another parent from experiencing it. Maybe it was just lonely and found purpose in caring for something vulnerable. I don't know why it chose Thomas. Don't know why it spent 8 months healing a human child when it could have stayed hidden, stayed safe, stayed unknown. But I know this. It didn't hate humans. If it had, it never would have risked exposure. Never would have entered a hospital night after night. Never would have touched my son with such impossible gentleness. It just wished we were better, kinder, more connected to what matters, less focused on complexity and more focused on compassion. The creature was a teacher, and its final lesson was the most important. Some things are more valuable than proof. Some connections are more sacred than evidence. Love that demands to be believed isn't love, it's ego. Real love protects quietly, cares without recognition, gives without keeping score. The stone Thomas received on that last day sits on my bedside table now. He gave it to me last month after watching the tapes. "You should have this," he said. "You protected the creature. You earned it." The stone is smooth, worn from handling, reddish-brown, warm in my palm like it holds some residual heat from the creature's touch. Sometimes late at night, when the nursing home is quiet and I can't sleep, I hold that stone and remember. Remember sitting in a hospital room with something impossible. Remember watching my son emerge from unconsciousness against all medical logic. Remember learning from a creature that shouldn't exist about how to be more fully human. The stone is my evidence, but not evidence for the world, evidence for me. Proof that I witnessed something real and chose correctly, chose protection over validation, chose silence over spectacle, chose love over proof. And that choice meant everything. If you take anything from this story, take this. Not everything precious needs to be proven. Not everything meaningful needs to be shared. We live in a culture that demands evidence, proof, documentation, validation from others. We photograph everything, share everything, need witnesses to confirm our experiences are real. But some experiences are sacred precisely because they stay private, because they exist between specific beings in specific moments and don't need outside validation to matter. If you've experienced something impossible, something you can't prove, something others wouldn't believe, protect it. Don't let the demand for evidence destroy its meaning. Let it be yours. Let it be true without needing the world's permission. Connect with what matters, not what looks impressive, not what others value, but what actually touches your life at the deepest level. Sometimes that's family, sometimes it's strangers, sometimes it's beings that shouldn't exist but do. Choose patience over rushing. Whatever healing you're facilitating, in yourself, in others, stop demanding it happen faster. Match pace with the process. Be present for the slow work. That's where real transformation happens. Protect those who help you. The creature saved my son's life. In return, I kept it secret. That's the transaction that matters. Reciprocal protection, mutual care, choosing each other's well-being over personal gain. If someone helps you when they didn't have to, protect them like they protected you. I'm sharing these tapes now because Thomas is healthy, the creature is long dead, and I'm old enough that judgment doesn't scare me anymore. But for 39 years I chose silence, chose protection, chose love over validation, and I'd make the same choice again. Maybe there are more of them out there. Maybe that creature had family, offspring, others of its kind living quietly in places humans don't go. Maybe they watch us, help us sometimes, choose connection over isolation. Or maybe that Bigfoot was alone, the last of something, the final witness to humanity's capacity for both connection and destruction. Either way, it matters that someone chose kindness, that something saw a dying human child and decided to help despite the risk. That proves we're not separate from the natural world. We're part of it. And sometimes, incredibly, impossibly, the natural world cares back. Subscribe if you believe in protection over proof. If you believe some stories matter more than validation. If you've ever experienced something impossible and chosen to keep it sacred instead of shared. Comment where you're watching from. Tell me if you've ever had to choose between being believed and protecting what matters. Tell me if you understand why silence can be the deepest form of love. And if you're facing something impossible right now, if you're sitting beside a hospital bed hoping for miracles, if you're caring for someone when medicine has given up, if you're so alone it feels like drowning, know this. Help comes from unexpected places. Hope comes from impossible sources. And sometimes the most important thing you can do is just keep showing up, keep being present, keep believing that connection transcends logic. The creature taught me that. I'm teaching you. And maybe someday you'll teach someone else. That's how impossible love survives, not through proof but through people who witness it, protect it, and pass its lessons forward. Thank you for listening. Thank you for believing. Thank you for understanding why some truths are too sacred to prove. Now go love something impossible. Go protect what's precious. Go choose connection over evidence. The world needs more witnesses who know when silence is the deepest form of testimony.